What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Pad Chennington, and we are live with, well, when you hear this, who knows when it's going to be sometimes this week, but right now I'm live. I am live with Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night, an artist who, I say this all the time, has just exploded into the Slushwave scene and brought a really great spin on that Slushwave signature sound with his own production and a sample freestyle. It's just a bunch of amazing stuff, and I just want to introduce him to everybody, just in case you don't know who he is. Put out a bunch of great albums. You can find him Bandcamp, Twitter, all that good stuff. But I'll just I'll let Desert talk to y'all, and we'll get this show on the road. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing really, really well. It's so nice to have this album on vinyl. Out of all the albums, you know, this is the one that I think's been requested the most, and it's. As we were saying just before this, time has gone fast, really fast. And, you know, there were delays and stuff because of the vinyl shortages and all that palaver. But to have now this big hype and it's coming out in a week is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, everything is, it's weird because there's just this massive shortage going on with so many things in the world right now. But for vinyl, like production times have just gone through the roof to get something. I think right now, from what I've heard from just friends and fellow artists who run labels and whatnot, I've heard like 22 to 24 weeks is like a normal right now. Just to like, once you put that order in, that's when you should hopefully expect it. And that's what some people are saying is like the earliest. So this record that we're dropping on Catskill Records, for those who don't know, just in case you've never heard of the label, a couple months ago, I started my own record label. And it's just been a lot of fun. We did a Fake Fever release, and we did a Zero release about a couple months ago now, I believe. But the next one is coming from Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night. It's dropping this Friday, and that release has been in the works for a pretty long time. Desert was one of the first people I think I reached out to once I got the label going to do a record for. We were talking about which album to do for the vinyl, and there were so many to pick from, and I'm really happy we did this one. I guess just run me through, you know, a backstory on yourself and maybe just lead us up to where you are now, and I guess how this album was made. Just totally take the stage here. Yeah,
okay, so basically before I came into Slushwave and Vaporwave in general, I just had a backlog of just rubbish music, like really shite things. I went through like a deep house phase in like 2017 where I was just making these really generic beats, you know, and I wasn't doing anything with them. I just kind of made them and I would post them on SoundCloud or something, but I wasn't really pushing for any promotion and stuff like that. So my skills in kind of like Logic Pro and stuff were growing, and I was understanding a bit more about the technicalities. And then along came Slushwave and Vaporwave, and I was like, oh my goodness. This is like something I've always wanted, because I loved this kind of 80s, 90s funky stuff, all that kind of really beautiful reverberated sounds from those periods, like R&B, 90s R&B I listened to a lot of. And I also really loved ambient music like Brian Eno and who else, Laraji and people like that. And then Slushwave came along, and it was like the perfect blend of those two genres that I'd absolutely adored for years. And it was years because basically my musical background started just when I was 8 years old and I started learning piano. And I know I've played piano ever since, and I think that sort of piqued my interest into music. And now we're here, and you know, once I got into the Slushwave and I set up the Desert Sand and I found my sound and I found the sort of image I was going for, I was well into it. And Drifting in the Sea of Clouds was a sort of, it was a big development in the sample-free slush side of my music, because before that, you know, you had Forgive and Forget and Night Road, and they were two kind of, these is when I was still calling them experiments, because it wasn't usual yet, it wasn't a normal thing, because Slushwave was so heavily dominant with samples. And so with Drifting in the Sea of Clouds, it was kind of almost like a follow-up to Everlasting Summer, which was when I was pushing away from just kind of experimental ambient soundscapes into more, I want to make something sound like a sample. I want to make it sound like a solid dance or sort of ballad sample. And I still wanted to incorporate super ambient soundscapes with a style that sounded like, almost 80s pop, I guess. And so this is kind of where I started to, I guess, develop a more sort of song-like structure for them, which can also be seen in Night Road, like verses and choruses, and then it just fell together. Like, for example, the second track is still a lot more upbeat than the rest of the album, but that's just because it was a sample that I created. I think that was probably the oldest sample in that album. It was created around the time of Night Road and before Everlasting Summer, I think, and I just kind of repurposed it. But it fits so well because I was trying to tailor that towards it sounding like that kind of music. Mm-hmm. And then, as I say, the album gradually gets more ambient as you go down, and then the last track is super deep, very atmospheric, very ethereal, I guess you could say. And then the bonus track, which is on the digital version, is just piano. And if you actually download it from my Bandcamp, you can get the sheet music for that piece. And as I say, it would be really nice to hear someone play it, because I haven't actually seen anyone pick up that music and play it yet. So, but that's the album in a nutshell. Ambient and 80s at the same time.
It's lovely. I first got into the Slushwave sound, and I'm sure many people, follow the similar road, but you find a Telepath album on YouTube or something, or you see on Reddit, like someone posts a Telepath or Virtual Dream Plaza album, and then you just find yourself like on these Bandcamp pages that, aren't in English with these just VHS lost images, I guess you could say, like who knows from where they're sourced from, and there's this just magical feeling with it. And I think that magic comes so much from that just raw, ripe, like just heavy sample, feeling. Like it needs to, Slushwave, at least to me, when I want to experience it, I want to feel like a sample is there. A sample was used and worked and whatnot. And that's what's so brilliant about what you do, is it genuinely feels like you are sampling something from back then. And it's very hard to do, to really get that perfect, whatever recipe you're using to get that perfect texture on everything to make it sound so distant. And it's pretty breathtaking. And for people who, let's say, don't really know, haven't heard much about the Slushwave genre, or don't know many artists, maybe they only know Telepath or anything like that. I think that's for a lot of people. I guess where would you tell people to start, or how do you think you can share to someone, like what other artists would you recommend, or just what would you say about the Slushwave genre for those who want to evolve from, let's say, just further past Telepath and Virtual Dream Plaza, or just people who don't know it at all?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting point, because it is good to start with Telepath just because he is the sort of foundation for a lot of the aesthetics and sound that have come from that. But beyond that, I would just explore the Slushwave tag on Bandcamp, for example. Look at Slushwave 2020 and Slushwave 2021, the festivals that me, Vapor Memory, and Tim from a label called Global Pattern, we hosted those, and that was really a showcase of the genre right now, because Telepath has stopped making music, and he got into a few controversies on Twitter, so he's not really around anymore. And his kind of his reputation has been a little bit sort of tarnished by some things that happened, and so revitalizing this genre with new and exciting and upcoming artists who are really into it, who are really promoting the genre as well as themselves. That's what I was really looking for in these two events. And there's some really big artists who are still around, like Mindspring Memories is probably the other really big Slushwave artist who I would absolutely recommend. She makes beautiful, gorgeous soundscapes with really sort of, it's heavily compressed, it's thick, it's dense, and it's just gloriously long, some of the projects. The Binary Ocean is extremely long, and that was a that was released. I think was it a 3 times LP on one of the labels.
Yep, Needle Juice
Needle
has it on a
Juice.
3. It's gorgeous too, and they actually sent me that a while back, and I love that. For me, at least at this point for a while now, when I listen to vinyl, most of the stuff I listen to is just nice ambient stuff for the background, whatever I'm doing. So Slushwave has been my go-to for so long now, and yeah, Mindspring, you can't go wrong. Angel is the bomb. So just awesome work all around, and there's a good amount of Mindspring on vinyl. I think I'm like looking back right now at what I got over there, but and those Slush and sorry to cut you off, but those Slushwave festivals too were amazing, and I love those festivals that are so specific to either a genre or like a theme or a style, and having just Slushwave is supposed to be long. It's supposed to be this like really long journey that you go on, and to have a whole festival about it with all these different artists, it's a great opportunity to get more, ears on the sound, and who's bringing new stuff to the table beyond Telepath, and there's that genre's still living. It could still go on, and there's still beautiful things being made. And I guess this goes right into what I wanted to talk to you about next, was that Slushwave festival. How did that all start? I know you worked with Vapor Memory, who I worked with on a previous festival as well. Absolutely love Vapor Memory. One of the just hardest working and consistent people that has been contributing to the scene and giving people a platform for years now. So I guess just walk me through that whole creation process. How did you get the idea, and how did it all come to life?
Well, sort of at the start of 2020, I was realizing how big Slushwave was getting. And I was just telling myself, I need to have a hub or something. I need to create something that will just be sort of a hub for artists to come together. Obviously it couldn't be a physical festival at the time because of the whole pandemic, but I was just like, what can I do? And then I was thinking, why don't I just create a big event, a big online event, because online events were getting very, very popular because of the sort of shift to online for everything. And then I said, Vapor Memory would be a fantastic platform for that kind of thing, because his channel is probably the biggest Vaporwave channel, showcasing all different types of sub-genres of Vaporwave. And I said, okay. So I just messaged him and I said, look, I've got this idea about a festival I want to host. I'll get in a bunch of Slushwave artists and we'll do it for a day, and we'll just have a great time. And he was well up for it because he loved Telepath, he loved Slushwave as a whole as well. He was really behind the idea that to grow the genre, we needed to just get past the few big artists, Telepath, Angel, myself perhaps, and sort of expand on the smaller artists who are bringing really great ideas to the table that aren't being recognized enough. And so I messaged him, he was well up for it, and I said, oh my goodness, imagine if I had Tim there as well, because Tim had set up Global Pattern a year before, and his label was sort of almost another hub for Slushwave releases, for Slushwave tapes. And so I messaged him, and he was well up for it, and I was like, this is going to be amazing. So, we were chatting about what artists to bring in, and then we got the final lineup, and then we set a date down, and man, just hearing those sets coming in was like, this is going to be something special on the day, and I could not wait. I was literally so excited, because this is one of the best things that I've ever done, and to be able to do something like that, and knowing that all the hard work we put into it was, it was because it was an amazing event in the end. The audience was huge, and the chat was just unreal throughout the whole event. It was so heartwarming. I mean, I was just high on like dopamine that whole day. During the interviews as well, hearing some of the artists for the first time was it was just surreal, absolutely surreal. And you've been there for both of them in the car both times.
Dude, I know. I feel like everybody's heard this story, but every time I try to like jump on, and talk to y'all on the stream, I was just like both years for the festival, I was in a rush somewhere, like in my car, in traffic, like trying to get somewhere, and it was just It was so funny. And when you say like you were so excited getting those sets in, I think these URL sets, something that's so magical about them, and I don't think a lot of people expected this once once COVID started to hit and things started closing down, and we were realizing if we want to continue that energy from people who are performing live, or just people, who maybe always wanted to perform live, and now there was just this opportunity now where we could just bring it to the online space. And I don't think people realize how similar of a feeling it is to like play online than it is playing live. You still get like butterflies, you get goosebumps, and when you see like a performance happening, it's a very similar rush almost, and it's so bizarre. I would have never thought it would have worked the way it was working, after COVID hit and everyone was doing things online. But yeah, there is a real sense of just like magic on these festivals, and I, like I was saying earlier, I ran a couple festivals as well. And I'm sure you could relate to this. There's this like the night before, you just like start overthinking, like, do I have every set ready to go? Is everything loaded up? Like, and you just go through all of them, and you're just like freaking out. And then just the way these things work and just everyone's energy coming together, it just works itself out no matter what. Like, I don't know, for me, my internet didn't go down, like my mic didn't, go, it ends up working, and they're pretty amazing. So yeah, these Slushwave festivals, you can, if you want to check them out, they're still on YouTube, right? The full streams are there.
Yes. Oh, we had some right palavers with them because there was a lot of copyright issues, and actually not with the music, it was with a lot of the visuals.
Wow.
But I think they're up there now. I think Slushwave 2021 is split up into 2 days, with a lot of the sets being repurposed with different visuals, so just bear that in mind. Because during Slushwave 2021, the stream actually went down mid-concert, like mid-festival, and we shat our pants. We were like, oh my goodness, we can't believe this has happened. It was during Soulcraft's set as well, and it was going beautifully. We were all just chilling, because normally after we'd done the interviews, we would sit back for half an hour and just watch the sets, and we would all just kind of stand back or go away from the computers and have it on the speakers. And then we're all just laying in bed in our in our own houses or whatever, and then the stream stops. And I don't think we've ever moved so fast back to the Discord VC to say, what's going on? It was really scary. Because we just lost the entire audience that we had there. We had to set up a new stream with, different link and that kind of thing. And then we had Soulcraft on, and we had to apologize because we couldn't play a set. But we still got through it. And it was still a great success, apart from that little hiccup. So,
yeah, I mean, anytime I jumped in there, the chat just seemed like they were having an amazing time. And then when you guys like hopped back into the, doing interviews and whatnot, everything just seemed to flow really well, and it was it was a beautiful thing. Even hearing it from the car, like it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And my next question for you then, still on the topic of these festivals, is do you guys plan on doing another one? If that's a secret or you don't want to share the news, that's totally cool. And my other question for you, and this is maybe more of just a hypothetical or just maybe like a brainstorming question, if you were to have the opportunity to do a Slushwave festival in real life, how do you think something like that would play out, from the performance space to just how it would work? Like nobody's really like crowd surfing or jumping on stage and then diving in at a at a desert sand set. So I'm really curious to see what you think would happen in that scenario. So it's a double question. Do you guys have something planned for another URL set? And then how can you picture a Slushwave festival in real life to go?
Well, yes, me and Tim and Vapor Memory, we're always talking about the next festivals, and there will probably most likely be a Slushwave festival next year. We're in talks about maybe doing something a little bit different. Can't say much about that at the moment, but we'll see how that turns out. But so just definitely keep an eye. It'll be announced well in advance. So just keep an eye on my me, Tim's, and Vapor Memories Twitters and social media. So if I could run a Slushwave festival, I've always joked about this, but I would just go in the middle of some remote desert and set up a stage and like a little area and stuff, you know, like remote bars and remote food places, and just have a Slushwave festival in the desert, because that would be amazing. But realistically, problem is I'm in the UK, so getting to America is really expensive, especially now, and it's a whole palaver and stuff. And so I would just really want a festival in the EU, just anywhere in Europe, because that would be so much easier for me to travel, or even in the UK. And I know that at one point Allo City Records wanted to do something, but it was the end of 2019, and then they were getting really excited to do it, and then obviously you know what hit then. So we'll have to see, but I don't know much about event planning, setting up an event, you know, things like that, and will I have the kind of budget to do that? So it definitely wouldn't ever be me personally like running the IRL event, but I would absolutely attend one, or even perform at one. And I would like to. It would be so nice to just meet everyone, because I haven't met any Vapor person like in real life.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too. Have you ever been to like a Vaporwave or Vapor adjacent show in real life? So you haven't?
Never been, and I've never met someone I've talked to in this scene in person yet. No. Well, you know, I'm really good friends with Zero, and he lives in Belgium, and you know, we've always said that we should meet up at some point, and yeah, it's just hard at the moment, you know, and I don't have too much money just to you know, spend on flights and things. But you know, now I'm settled in with a new job, a new house, and I haven't got too many. Actually, I haven't got really any debts apart from student stuff. But you know, don't worry about that at the moment. I should have a few more finances that I could throw at things like that. But you know, as I say, you know, events they will sometimes pay for artists to get the flight and come over, which I would just say yes, but please.
Oh yeah, I know. I've talked to Cat Corp when he was doing like Electronicon 2 in LA. He was just so like, when him and George were talking, and just that opportunity for him to go out there, and you know, he was just so like 100% down to do it. And I think so many, obviously, if you guys would just be jumping on that if it ever came up. So what are some of your favorite albums or musical projects? And it could be Vaporwave, Slushwave, or completely anything else. And I guess, I know you said, you know, Brian Eno, and what else has inspired you on the way of creating Desert to where it's gotten now, and just in the current, you know, day and age, what's inspiring you right now?
Yeah, this is always so tough, because I listen to just such a wide variety of music. And some of it's quite sporadic. You know, I'll have a phase for a week or two, and then I'll forget about it. But it's inspired something at that time. I would say a lot of the stuff from my recent sort of albums have just been inspired by a lot of. Well, obviously, the Piano Soliloquy album was inspired by a lot of smooth jazz artists like Steve Cole, Brian Culbertson. Jeff Kashi, I've forgotten his name now.
I absolutely, by the way, love the artwork on that cover. It's so just bright and just, I love it. That's the, hold on, I'm gonna type it in right now, make sure I'm talking about the right one. That's your most recent work, right? Yes,
the Piano Soliloquy. Well, actually, at the time this is released, Floor 122 will have come out, which is the new Villain album under my alias. Mm-hmm. But this will still be the newest Desert Sand album, yeah, the proper Slushwave album.
So, talking about online sets, I think everybody, you know, obviously has their own unique ways of crafting their sets, whether. I know for me personally, I just many times just film myself DJing, and then I literally overlay a graphic, like just so poorly done. It's just awful. It looks horrible, but that's how I do it, and I just upload it and whatnot. And then there's other artists that perform their music, and they'll reach out to a visual artist, you know, a VDJ, and then they'll just create a whole visual experience for their sets and whatnot. How do you go about crafting your online sets, and are there any specific thought processes that you find unique, that maybe you find unique to yourself, that you'd want to share with people?
Well, normally what I do is to make online sets, I just tailor certain songs that I've released and put in a couple new things or sort of disregarded ideas I can use for exclusive sets, that kind of thing. And just sort of mash that together nicely, sort of have seamless transitions between tracks, etc. And then for the visuals, I just want something that's kind of trippy, kind of a bit sort of surreal. And so normally what I do is, to fit with the kind of Japanese, Asian aesthetic, is I just look up Chinese music videos, because they have some beautiful, beautiful visuals in there. And the set that you played at the SLUGFEST, there's plenty of visuals of that, of, just people walking, sort of looking thoughtfully at things. And that's all just from 80s Chinese pop videos. And I sort of interlace that with kind of people driving through cities in the 90s, people who filmed sort of Tokyo at night time, and I kind of mix them with different blend settings so that different colors will react, or sometimes it'll almost be like a green screen at night time, and sometimes I'll add the kaleidoscope effect just to make it just a bit more washy and a bit more it's a bit more crazy, really. I just want it to be a burst of colours. And then when the music dies down, I just want it to be maybe like a sort of a slow, surreal scene. And so it's not thinking about it too detailed. I just kind of want, because in the end, people are going to get just absolutely lost in the music and visuals anyway. But that's kind of the point, it's just to create a sort of atmosphere that people can use themselves to just go on their own trips. And that's really it to what I do in the set.
I love that idea of just allowing people to kind of craft their own journeys from, what you're presenting to them. And
yeah.
Everybody soaks those like Slushwave sets in their own way, and it's pretty brilliant stuff.
And that's also what I say about albums as well, that I obviously have, you have the album art, you have the track titles and things that solidify an idea, but at the same time, I don't want to solidify what other people get out of an album. Mm-hmm. And that's why you have things like the Japanese track titles, because it's almost cryptic in a way. Like, yes, the music's there, but it's very mysterious, and the album covers are sometimes ambiguous, or they're blurry and distorted, so they don't just apply to one thing or one scene. And that's what I love when I hear people that message me about albums they've listened to of mine, and they go, wow, I thought about this, or I went through this experience in my life and it reminded me of that. And I just think that's great, because I'm allowing people to access things from their past or from nostalgic memories that I would never have thought of from that album. And it's really nice for people to craft their own worlds when listening to my albums. And again, that goes back to the point of you saying Slushwave is long. And, it's timing is really key, because through the journey of an album, I've definitely had parts where it's very long on purpose, because I want the listener at that point to just have a reflective moment, It's that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And this album coming out, not to plug Catskill, but this album that's coming out on Friday, it's perfect for that. I think there's just these moments where you just get so lost in those stretched out moments of just one luscious sound, and then there's more melodic, upbeat, like kind of upfront moments, and you craft your own quest in a way in your head when listening to things like that. And with the album cover too, I think that plays into at least my mental image of what's going on in the album, but still there's so much more to create for yourself beyond that artwork. And shout out to Zero too. I know some people might get confused. There's two Zeros we're talking about here. There's Zero from Belgium, and then Zero, the other one who did the artwork for Drifting, is from Brazil, right?
Yes, I think so, yeah. And that's Zero with the full stops in between, so Z full stop E,
yeah.
And yes, they've been confused ever since. And Zero always tells me horror stories about when he's been confused or the wrong Zero's been tagged and he's missed something. So.
Yeah, and another thing I want to go into really quick, talking about Zero, is the vinyl itself. So much goes into getting that thing made as a physical, you know, from the artwork on the front, you know, was done by Zero. The artwork on the back of the vinyl, and right now I'll be sure to just flash images of the vinyl so you see what I'm talking about here. Yeah. The back of the vinyl, I wanted to get a photo that kind of just mimicked those buildings in the artwork. And my good friend Aiden, who runs a YouTube channel, also does music as well. I know he was doing photography. He was posting about doing photography at the time. So I thought, hey, you know, I love getting a lot of people involved in things and just, you know, giving them a platform to show what they got. So I asked him if he wanted to, you know, do a photo for the back of this vinyl. I just need like buildings or textures of buildings. So he got this great shot. And we were talking about mastering of the vinyl once again, or talking about Angel, who has worked for you in the past, right? For vinyl as well on Needle Juice.
Oh yeah, she's done so many as well.
Yeah, she is amazing. She's just such a pleasure to talk to. Like working with her, just getting that, you know, those masters done were so smooth and easy. So if you need some mastering work done, give Angel some work. But yeah, how has it been with Needle Juice, like seeing your albums on vinyl and working with Angel? How has all that been?
Absolutely amazing. I literally cannot fault. You know, Needle Juice and an Angel is like the perfect combination. And you know, I get on really well with Angel, and we've talked a lot about technical processes before because I'm kind of into that thing as well. So it's really interesting to hear, you know, how she does it. And she couldn't believe that the albums that I was sending her to master were sample free, and she was just like, this can't be non-sampled. And then, you know, I would show her some of the processes I go through to make the samples, and then, you know, we kind of have a good laugh about it, and we share experiences with that kind of thing. And I just know that whatever she masters will be delivered to the highest quality. Seriously, it sounds so good. And I just cannot wait to receive my New World Disciples vinyl.
Yeah, shout out to Needle Juice as well. They are awesome. They've sent me a bunch of their records in the past, and just people who are running it are super down to earth as well. And on there, you release, if you want to share with us this story about how this came to be, a vinyl with sand in it, right? Like there's sand in the vinyl itself. So tell me about that.
Well, this was sort of towards the sort of release day, and they were just kind of like, shall we do something absolutely bizarre? And I said, what is that? And they said, sand-filled vinyl. And I was like, I thought at first they were talking about a sort of almost like a glitter pattern where they would put sand in the vinyl or something like that, you know, so it would be part of the pattern maybe. Mm-hmm. But then they sent pictures, and they actually mean like a pocket
literal
of
sand,
movable sand. And I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So yes, of course I'm up for it.
Do you have one on, like, do you have a copy yourself?
No. It's not going to be finished for a long time. I think February they'll probably shipping out.
Okay.
It basically, the company that are making it, it's almost like a sort of custom-made order. It's almost like a sort of tailor-made thing. Like they're having to make new... You know, it's not just kind of a routine thing for them. It's being made especially for us. It's not something they normally do. So they're kind of having to use a lot of handmade methods. Because, you know, there's no machines that make sand-filled vinyls. So
yeah, I've never heard of that until this. So
nor had I. And it's actually nice because they sent an album that had been released with the same kind of thing. So it's real and it works and it looks incredible. So that's why I was sort of sold by it, because it had been done well before. It would be a lot more scary if it was just something they were trying, or someone was trying for the first time. But it's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's funny.
Yeah, I remember when you guys announced that, I was like, oh my god, like, what the hell are we gonna do next? I love it. I think, you know, just getting super crazy with physicals and whatnot is just it's a lot of fun. It just,
you know, the price $175.
Oh, I saw that too, and at first I was like, "Oh my god, like this is so goddamn expensive." But it's so in a way it's justified because I can only imagine how much upfront cost that's going to be to get that done because that is such a custom thing.
It is.
It's such a custom thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's not on their website. You have to send out personal emails to them saying, "Look, can you make this just for us?" That's why it's so expensive. But people love the novelty about that, and that's why they're willing to spend so much money on it. So I really hope they come out all right. And actually, I can't remember who was saying this. I think it was Days of Blue, but I think he made a really good point. But because the sand moves, and obviously vinyl is very delicate, especially when it comes to sort of movement when you're playing it. And I think he said that. So does that mean that depending on where the sand is, each play will be slightly different because of the weight difference?
oh my god, imagine! Well, hey, that just adds to that, that Slushwave experience every time, and that's something I love about Slushwave too. And I've said this about like dream punk. I've said this about just ambient music in general, where the music is so. The replay value is so great because it's so blurry at times, that Slushwave sound, that you don't really you can listen to an album and then just completely forget what it sounds like the next time going in. And that replay value of those Slushwave like vinyl records that I throw them on so much because of that too. It's like I get to listen to something new every time. So yeah, maybe that sand will just create a new album, literally a new album for you every time someone throws it up.
That's it, yeah.
Let's talk about collaborating with other artists. So you've collaborated before with other artists. One that comes to mind right away is the one with Uncle Squids on Corpse record label, which that artwork for that album first before the music in general. I absolutely love those like blues, whites, and reds. I just think that cover is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So how has it been collaborating with other artists? Let's say you're doing a Slushwave collab and then you come in, and you got, all these stems or whatever, and you're doing all this crazy stuff. How's it been with working with other people? And if you had to pick one artist to work with, like a dream collab, who would it be and why?
Right. Actually, just one quick thing about the Desert Squid cover is that I don't know if you saw it, but there was this one guy who lives in Hong Kong, and he actually...
I saw it. Yeah. It was on Reddit, and I think it was like the highest upvoted like on Vapor Vinyl or something. This guy just like put it up and it blends in. It was
and
sick.
he was cool. There. I was like, oh my god, this is so amazing. He actually went out into the street as well with this vinyl. And matched it up to the location. But yes, working with Uncle Squids is just an absolute dream. And we actually started really early in my career. Our messages go back to February 2019. So we've been working for a hell of a long time, and we've got some beautiful stuff cooking up there. So just keep an eye out there. Working with other artists is a real joy because you get to see their processes and you get to work with their nuances and you get to understand their melodies and their instrumentation and their workflow as well. And that's why collaborations are so exciting, because it's not just me or it's not just Squids. It's a combination of both of us, and it's a completely new sound. It could be under Desert Squid could be neither of us, and you'd believe that. It's just fascinating hearing the end result when you've kind of put all this work together, and then you just sit back and you go, wow, look what we've made. That's kind of what we were like when we'd finished it. We're just like, look at this, we've done it.
Talking about the Desert Squid release on Jorn's label, how has it been working with him? I've worked with him on a bunch of things. He was one of the first people I actually ever really talked to in the Vaporwave scene when I started the channel. He was the first person I ever interviewed. And always a pleasure talking to him, and always learning experience too. He just shares so much stuff about how to run a label to me, and just great dude all around. How's it been working with him?
Yeah, he is just a dream to work with. He cares a lot about the Vaporwave scene. he really cares about the delivery of the physicals as well. So he would communicate really well with us about how the release is going, how the production was going, when it will be released, and that kind of thing. And he wasn't afraid to tell us about delays, which was absolutely fine. Like I've always said, I would much prefer a label to just keep telling me that there were delays and problems rather than not messaging me at all. Because when you don't get a message, you have no idea what's going on.
I agree. I'm probably an I annoy everybody. Like I just constantly, anybody I work with for Catskill, I'm always messaging them like on every step. I think you've seen it with me. I just message you about every little goddamn thing.
I love that. I love that. You'd message about and you start with messages like, oh, sorry about the messages. No, please keep messaging. It's really vital. Communication is such an important part of a label, and working with Jorn, the communication was top notch, and the release was top notch, and the physicals were just gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And then my dream collab it's always been for a long time Mindspring Memories, just because I've been really inspired by her works and talking to her a lot on the mastering. And let's just say that we might have something going. Might have something in the works,
Be on the lookout, everybody. Be on the lookout. Desert Sand right now, at least to me, I think is just, when you think of Slushwave, you think of Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night. I think you're, one of the biggest, if not the biggest name right now in the Slushwave scene, and you just provide that refreshing breath of fresh air to the whole sound of it and how it's made and whatnot. Do you have anything in the works? I know you said, maybe something with Mindspring. But what else? Like, what do you want to do with it? And, how has it been, like, seeing the success that you've had and watching your albums, your physicals sell out and people just really look up to you as, like, the number one figure right now in the Slushwave world?
Well, as I say, I just want to use a lot of that exposure that I've had just to grow the scene in general. That's why I did things like Slushwave 20 in 2021. Because I'm able to do that, and I have a large enough audience that actually I can grow smaller artists who I think are very talented as well. One of the recent kind of success stories is Days of Blue, who was a really unknown artist, and I put him in the Slushwave 2021 lineup, and he's talked to me a lot about how I produce stuff so he can get ideas to improve his music and that kind of thing. And I'm always open, on Twitter messages for people asking advice or asking for samples or asking about how I make things. I'm always up for giving that, for giving advice. And I have lots of things cooking in the works. I can't really talk about much of them, obviously, because they're with labels that want to keep it secret. But just know that 2022 is going to be a nice year for the vinyl collectors. Just put it that way.
Very nice. Yeah, we're starting off, we'll end 2021 with a big one with this release on Friday. Just once again, everybody, this Friday we are dropping the next big vinyl release in Catskill Records, Drifting in a Sea of Clouds, Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night.
What time is that?
It is at 12 p.m. Eastern is when it's going to go. Everything will be linked in the description. 300 copies. It's a beautiful, beautiful release. Everything that went into it, just a ton of time and a ton of care went into just the packaging and the vinyl itself. And we're really excited for you to hear it. I know you obviously were the first person who got it. I sent that to you a while back. And this record has been in the works for a very long time. And I want to commit myself to not announcing anything until I have the physical in my hand. So when we did that spotlight, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago and whatnot, it was so nice to reveal that record because I am so in love with how it came out. I'm sure Desert can tell you too. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece for vinyl collectors. So we hope to see you pick one up, and it'll be once again 12 o'clock Eastern this Friday, November 5th at Catskill Records on Bandcamp. It's catskillrecords.bandcamp.com. And Desert, also for you as well. Besides that, just where can people find you, themselves updated on what you're doing, and yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things can be found on my Twitter. That's where I'm most active. At Desert Sand Vapor, and desertsand.bandcamp.com. I post, if you follow me on there, I post a lot of announcements on the community tab there. So that's basically my two main hubs there. I'm just so looking forward to the reception of this release, and I hope if you do buy one that you enjoy it as well. Do send me pictures of when you have it as well. It's always really nice to see, or tag me on Twitter with the pictures.
Yeah, I same here. For Catskill, I'm sure we will retweet, redo everything you guys send. So yeah, share us what you got. We'll be hearing from you soon. Let us know what you think about it. But Desert, dude, it is always a pleasure talking to you. We've talked a couple times now. I mean, with the Slushwave sets and whatnot, and I love talking to you. You're just so much fun to just hear what you're doing and how what's going on in the Slushwave world. So
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to talk to you as well. And as I say, all the build up to now, it's like, yes, it's here.
I know. It's
done.
It's very rewarding. It's very rewarding to just stay silent, work on your stuff, and then when you have it, when it's ready to go, boom, you just drop it, and we go from there. So yeah, very exciting stuff. So we'll see you all Friday, and thank you for listening to this interview. If you listen to the whole thing, or if you just listen to parts, we thank you a lot. So yeah, Desert and Pad signing out. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk soon.